Can you beat Tower Defense Simulator with only event towers? In TDS, there are 13 total event towers, but only a few will actually be good enough for this challenge. To start, we have the easiest mode. Molten Mode. I grabbed Elf Camp for early defense considering it was a spawner tower that was really good for early in Molten. I slowly waited for the money to max my Elf Camps, and when I did on wave 23, I knew it was going to be easy from here. I started getting Confusion Jesters and then Chiromancer. While the Chiromancer is good, I didn't realize it was killing my elves. It did also keep all the zombies in the front and they were easily spawn killed. After getting down Chiros and Elf Camps, I focused on getting Toxic Gunners. And then came wave 40. With my towers all combined, the Molten boss's health was quickly depleting, and by the time it crossed my first line of defenses it was only at 15k health. Because I was on Rocket Arena, the boss slowly looped around to its demise and I had one Molten with only event towers. Next I went to normal mode on Grass Isles and I removed Chiromancer from my loadout since it was killing my elves. I started early with Jester and soon got Toxic Gunner and Elf Camp to support it. I had little to no struggle until on wave 17 a hidden boss ran past my defenses. Luckily the elves and a last second Jester placement saved me with 24 health left. But on wave 23 mystery bosses appeared. Mysteries in TDS are the most controversial enemy. Okay, second most controversial enemy. And it was clear why here. Because out of the 4 mysteries, 2 were speedy bosses. Along with one that was part of the wave itself. I had a major issue. The Jester's confusion made them stay near the front for a while, but it wasn't enough and they went right past my Jester and into the base. I tried my luck again on Toyboard because it is one of the newer maps with the enemy's beta modifier, which removes mysteries. This time I tried what worked in Molten because you can't fix something that isn't broken, right? I did get Toxic Gunner out pretty early because its poison effect is incredibly strong. Yet it lacks hidden detection. Bruh. Even so, my Elf Camps and some Jesters I got later helped with that a lot. But on wave 21 a speedy boss and hidden boss showed up, getting really close to ending the run. And even with a last second elf clutch, another speedy boss came right back next wave. So I went at it again on Deserted Village using Jester for early and got Elf Camp. I then saved to max it, which I did do in time. It got pretty scary with slow and speedy bosses making it far multiple times, but eventually I got max Jesters and Toxic Gunners until wave 30. The Grave Digger has 40k health, which is easy, but the Grave Digger comes a whole 10 waves before the Molten boss. While it was decently easy to handle, the boss theme slaps. So 2 out of 3 modes completed. All that's left is Fallen Mode. Fallen Mode was the hardest mode yet. Having fast, tanky, and high defense enemies made this mode impossibly hard. In my first Fallen attempt I added Sledger and Frost Blaster to my loadout along with replacing Elf Camp with Executioner. I decided to play on Fungi Island for this and it was somewhat of a mistake. The early game was pretty easy with me getting a level 2 Jester then adding a Frost Blaster. I also set my Jester to ice so it wouldn't unfreeze the zombies, but this made the Jester extremely unreliable for damage. Once my Frost Blaster was level 3, I got 2 level 3 Sledgers to try and freeze the Fallens on wave 20. I dealt with it easily, and wave 21 only one low health Fallen got past my defense. On wave 22, the giant boss had too much health to kill easily, so I got a level 2 Toxic Gunner in a spot that was terrible and barely saw the track. So I had to get a second one, and then a third one. I most likely would have died to the giant bosses, but before I could, a shadow boss came blazing through with 600 health and ended the run. This was mainly due to the fact that my only hidden detection was the Frost Blaster and Jester. And like I said earlier, the Jester was unreliable. On my second try, I swapped Executioner back for Elf Camp. I also skipped getting a Jester and went for Frost Blaster after leaking a bit. The Frost Blaster defended the early waves easily and I quickly got it to level 3. I also got my 2 level 3 sledgers ready in time for wave 20. Unlike last time, wave 21 was a nightmare even with a toxic gunner up front. So I lost. For my third attempt I brought back Executioner, again. This time I also went back to a Jester defense because I did better in my first attempt. This time was even worse than before, with me dying to the Necromancer because of carelessness and a worse map. Attempt 4 this time on UTurn, I kept Executioner and did an honestly great early on this map. But wave 21 had different ideas. The main problem is my sledgers were hitting the breakers that were tanky instead of the Fallens. I did not know at the time I could prevent this by setting my sledgers to strongest. I try many more times but it doesn't work and I die on wave 21. Because unlike other YouTubers, I value your time and just gonna skip to the final attempt. To start, I was on Crossroads. Crossroads may be the best map for this challenge because the zombies loop around, letting the sledgers freeze them more. I got Elf Camp for early because well, you can't fix what isn't broken. And that may be true. The elves got to wave 8 leakless with only a level 2 and 3. On wave 8 I got a Toxic Gunner because it had defense melting which made handling abnormal bosses and heavies much easier. Then I got my Frost Blaster and Sledger like I do in every run. Because of how good Crossroads is, I made it through wave 20, 21, and 22 with no problem. I got a Confusion Jester for wave 24 to handle the hidden boss. Glitches got really close to the end but never got through. At this point I was just maxing and spamming towers to prepare for wave 30. On wave 30 a giant boss enemy known as the Tank will run through with 6,000 health and the speed of a Fallen. This was the breaking point of the run. In previous runs I had gotten the tank down to around 400 health multiple times. But not this time. The Confusion Jester stalled out the tank while also making poison puddles for it to walk into. The other towers also contributed to help damage it and took away around half of its health. And somehow, I managed to defeat the tank. Most of the early 30s were easily beaten. Little to nothing even got close. But I had one flaw. I was mainly focusing on maxing my sledgers considering they were my highest DPS option with their freeze combined. But in Fallen mode, one enemy has complete freeze immunity. The Necromancer boss. I didn't even notice it until it was too late. I couldn't stunlock it like I did with the other zombies and my non-freezing DPS is terrible. Sadly, it ended my run 3 waves away from wave 40. I do think I could make it farther in Fallen if I wanted to sink more hours into this already long challenge. But I didn't, simply because winning didn't seem too possible. And with that, there's your answer. You cannot beat solo Fallen with just event towers as of the winter 2023 update. But for Molten, you certainly can. I don't know why you'd want to play normal with just event towers, but you can win. I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Okay, so there are some event towers I didn't mention in this video. Some of them I don't own like Slasher, Commando, and Swarmer. Then Archer doesn't do any damage currently for whatever reason. Necromancer is bad and overpriced, but Gladiator is good, right? Well, it is useful in some cases, but it is really a waste of a slot because there is better early defense that is good in late game too. Okay, that's my entire rant. Bye.